I'm 107 years old. I've lived through the Depression, 4 wars, buried 2 wives and a son, and watched this country transform in ways nobody could have imagined. I've been called a hero, a provider, a rock. And I'm about to tell you something about being a man that nobody, not your father, not your coaches, not the culture, will ever tell you. Because they can't. They're still trapped in the same lie I was trapped in for 80 years. I learned the truth at 27. But I didn't understand it until I was 96, sitting alone in a room full of photographs of people who loved me, people I never let close enough to actually know me. The truth is this: the strength they taught us is killing us. Let me tell you how I know. I was born in 1918 in a farmhouse outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. My father had come back from the Great War 2 years before. He never talked about what happened over there. Not once. Not ever. The only sign it had touched him at all was the way he'd go quiet sometimes, staring at nothing, his jaw tight, his eyes somewhere far away. He taught me everything I knew about being a man, and it all came down to 4 rules. Men provide, men protect, men don't complain, men don't cry. That was the code. And understand, back then the code wasn't cruelty. It was survival. We had the Depression. We had dust storms that buried whole farms. We had another war coming that would take my brother and reshape the world. Softness was a luxury nobody could afford. You stayed strong or you went under. Those were the only options. I married my first wife, Margaret, in 1941. I was 23 years old. She was warmth itself, the kind of woman who laughed easily, who touched your arm when she talked, who wanted to know what you were feeling and thinking and dreaming about. And I gave her none of it. Not because I didn't love her. I loved her desperately. But I had been taught that warmth was weakness, that needing someone was failure, that the greatest gift I could give her was never being a burden. So I was stoned, and I was proud of it. When I was 27, my younger brother William was killed in a factory accident. Mechanical failure. He was 31 years old with a wife and 2 little girls. At the funeral, something happened that I've never forgotten. My father, the man who never showed emotion, the man who survived trenches and gas attacks and watched friends die in the mud of France without shedding a tear, broke down. Just for a moment. This sound came out of him, raw and animal, like something tearing loose from deep inside. His whole body shook, and then, just as quickly, he caught himself, straightened his back, set his jaw, and it was over. He never spoke William's name again. Not once in the 40 more years he lived, as if my brother had never existed at all. And I learned the lesson. Grief is weakness. You bury it. You move forward. So when Margaret died, I was 52. Lung cancer. I handled it, managed the arrangements, thanked everyone for coming, kept my composure through every moment. I remarried within 2 years. Everyone said I was so strong. My son David asked me once if I missed her. I said, of course. And I changed the subject. My son David grew up in a home that had everything. food on the table, clothes on his back. A father who showed up to every game, every graduation, every important moment. But he didn't have me. Not really. I was there, but I was never present. I provided, but I never opened. There's a difference, and it took me a lifetime to understand it. When David was 35, he said something to me that I dismissed at the time. He said, "Dad, I don't know anything about you." Not really. I remember frowning at him, confused. "What's to know? I'm your father." He just looked at me with this expression I didn't recognize then. Now I know what it was. It was grief for a relationship he wanted but couldn't reach. My second wife, Eleanor, was patient with me for 30 years. 30 years she tried to reach through the wall I'd built. And one night near the end, she said something that echoed in my head for decades after. "I love you," she told me, "but I've never felt like you needed me, not once." I thought that was a compliment. Self-sufficient, strong, never a burden. She died feeling like she'd spent her life beside a stranger. David died at 58, heart attack, sudden, no warning. And I realized, sitting in that hospital hallway, that our last real conversation had been about the weather. The weather. That's what I gave my son at the end. At his funeral, I didn't cry. People came up to me afterward, squeezed my shoulder, told me how strong I was. I went home and sat in silence for 3 days. I wasn't strong. I was frozen. And there's nothing noble about that. At 96, I was living alone in assisted care. My wives were gone. My son was gone. Most everyone I'd ever known was gone. One afternoon, going through old boxes, I found something that changed everything. A bundle of letters in David's handwriting. Letters he'd written to me over the years, but never sent. The first one was dated 1982. The last, 3 months before he died. They were addressed to the father I wish I knew. He wrote about wanting to understand who I really was, what I feared, what I dreamed about when I was young, what kept me awake at night, what hurt me. In one letter, he wrote a single line that I will carry with me into the grave. "I just wanted you to need me for something other than showing up." I broke. Not stoic, not strong, not dignified. I broke completely. 80 years of armor cracked open in a single night. Alone in a room nobody would visit, holding letters from a dead son who spent his whole life trying to reach me. And I finally understood. I had protected myself so well, built walls so high, that nobody could reach me, including the people who loved me most. So here it is, the hard truth I promised you. The thing nobody will tell you because they're still trapped in it themselves. The code isn't strength. It never was. It's fear wearing a mask. Fear of rejection. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear of needing someone and having them leave. Real strength, the kind I never had, is letting people see you. Letting them in. Needing them and being brave enough to say so. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the only door that leads to real connection. And men, we're dying behind walls we built with our own hands, dying of loneliness in houses full of people who want desperately to love us if we'd only let them. Every "I'm fine" is a brick in that wall. Every deflection is a door closing. Every "I don't want to talk about it" is another day your son grows up not knowing who his father really is. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never let anyone see who you are. It's that simple and that hard. If you have a father, a son, a brother, a friend who lives behind that wall, reach through it. Keep reaching. They're waiting for permission to be human. They just don't know how to ask. I'm 107 years old. I don't have time left to waste on armor. That box of letters sits on my desk now. I read them every morning. Too late to answer them, but not for nothing. If this found you, if something here rang true, don't let it fade by tomorrow. Tell someone. Share this. Write that message you've been putting off. The wall comes down one brick at a time. Start today.